that's why we're here now, and I think it's up to the North Koreans to show us that they really do intend to give up nuclear weapons.
Well, arguably, North Korea also walks in a position of some strength, economic weakness perhaps, but this nuclear program is further along than any past administration has encountered. So
well, because of the mistakes of 25 years of past administrations.
But is it a requirement that Kim Jong-un agree to give away those weapons before you give any kind of concession?
I think that's right. I think we're looking at the Libya model of 2003, 2004. We're also looking at what North Korea itself has committed to previously. And most importantly, I think going back over a quarter of a century to the 1992 joint North-South denuclearization agreement, where North Korea committed to give up nuclear weapons and committed to give up uranium enrichment and plutonium reprocessing. Now, we've got other issues to discuss as well. Their ballistic missile programs, their biological and chemical weapons programs, their keeping of American hostages, the abduction of innocent Japanese and South Korean citizens over the years. So there's a lot to talk about.
Will the U.S. accept this invitation from the North to inspect their nuclear site when it's taken down in May as promised?
Well, we'll see exactly what that is. You know,
the South says that's what the North promised.
The North, well, it's interesting because we've been to this place before. I hope it's a sincere commitment by the North, but I'll just read you a sentence, if I may. In a gesture demonstrating its commitment to halt its nuclear weapons program, North Korea blew up the most prominent symbol of its plutonium production Friday. The destruction of the cooling tower bore witness to the incremental progress that has been made in U.S.-led multilateral efforts to end North Korea's nuclear weapons program. June 27, 2008, New York Times. Now, the self-same New York Times last month reported that President Trump's going to have difficulty with North Korea because new satellite evidence suggests that North Korea is expanding its plutonium production. So we want to see real commitment. We don't want to see propaganda from North Korea.
You haven't seen such action so far.
We've seen words so far.
No dismantlement.
We've seen words so far.
Continued development.
They've said that they're going to give up nuclear testing and ballistic missile testing. They haven't conducted any recently. That's true. That could be a very positive sign, or it could be a sign that they've reached a level of development where they don't need testing now. We've seen this in other contexts as well. President Trump is determined to see this opportunity through, hopeful that we can get a real breakthrough. But we're not naive in the administration, and a lot's going to ride on this meeting with Kim Jong-un.
So there are these headlines that from South Korea saying that Kim Jong-un would abandon his weapons if the U.S. promises not to invade his country. Are you going to make any kind of promise like that?
Well, we've heard this before. This is the North Korean propaganda playbook is an infinitely rich resource.
But it puts a burden on the United States.
I don't think it does, really. I think that if you look at the decision to give up nuclear weapons as a real strategic decision that North Korea has to make, what we want to see from them is evidence that it's real and not just rhetoric. In the case of Libya, for example, and it's a different situation in some respects, those negotiations were carried out in private. They were not known publicly. But one thing that Libya did that led us to overcome our skepticism was that they allowed American and British observers into all their nuclear-related sites. So it wasn't a question of relying on international mechanisms. We saw them in ways we had never seen before.
That sounds like you want inspections before any kind of sanctions relief.
Well, I think it would be a manifestation of the strategic decision to give up nuclear weapons. It doesn't have to be the same as Libya, but it's got to be something concrete and tangible. It may be that Kim Jong-un has some ideas, and we